Hey, I'm Miss Sam, and today I'm going to show you how to can jelly. Now, lots of folks think that canning is really difficult or takes a lot of expensive supplies, and that is simply not true. You need a very simple amount of supplies. There is one thing that you are really going to need, and that is a hot water bath or hot water canner. Basically, all it is a big old pot that has a rack that goes down in it. There's different kinds of racks, and you're going to use this to put your fill jars in and lower it into boiling water. Now, you can find these in lots of different places: hardware stores, farm and supply, yard sales, Salvation Army, that kind of thing. Here's my suggestion. I would put out feelers in your family and maybe your home church and let people know that you're interested in canning. Lots of the older ladies have stopped canning once their family has grown and gone on, but they still have all of their equipment. And I know when I said that I wanted to start canning, I had so many people in church excited to give me their things to know that it was going to keep on being used. So you might have somebody in your family right now that would be excited to give you the things that you need to start canning. So you're going to need a hot water bath. You're going to need a deep pot. So this is the amount of juice that I'm going to use for this batch of jelly, and it's only going to come up about like so. But when it comes up to a good rolling boil, it's going to come about like this. So you want to use a deeper pot than you think you're going to need so that you don't boil over. Then, of course, the most important part is your juice. So fresh fruit is expensive, and when my boys were young, we didn't have money to buy the fresh fruit, and so pretty much my jellies were all from wild things. So wild plums, wild elderberries. This is wild blackberries that I picked and juiced. I'm not going to go into how you get your juice. Mine is a stovetop steam extractor that breaks down the berries and then collects the juice. You might have a countertop juicer, or if you don't have either of those type of things or any way to actually extract juice, or maybe it's too expensive for you to buy the fresh fruit, here's a great option. You can always go to the grocery store and you can buy juice. You just have to be certain that if you're going to make jelly, it is unsweetened. And by unsweetened, I mean no sugar, no artificial sweeteners, nothing in it. It just has to be plain old juice. Otherwise, it's not going to gel. So that opens up a whole range of possibilities. You've got all these kind of things that you can make into jelly. All you're going to do is find the juice. So this is my blackberry juice. We're also going to need Sure-Gel. This is a box of Sure-Gel, and when you open it up, Sure-Gel is pectin. Fruit has natural pectin in it, but we want our stuff to get really nice and thick, so this is a whole packet of pectin, and it is what is going to gel your juice. It's going to make it that nice consistency that you want and set up. Inside the box is also a recipe sheet. It's big. So here's the recipe sheet, and on one side it has freezer jams and jellies. That's not what we're interested in. On this side, it has cooked jams and jellies. It has some basic instructions, equipment you might need, some helpful tips and things, but the most important thing, I'm going to go down here to the cooked jelly, is it's going to tell you off to the side how many cups of fruit you might need for a certain recipe. So, blackberries, it's going to tell you how many cups of blackberries you would need to make the cups of juice that you need for your jelly. The most important part is right over here. It says how many cups to how many cups of sugar you're going to need to make your jelly, because jelly is basically just 3 ingredients. It is juice, Sure-Gel, and sugar, and you need the perfect ratio of that. The only thing that I don't like about this is it used to have a lot of different kinds of fruit on here that aren't on here anymore. Most of my wild fruits aren't on here. If you are wanting to make a jelly and you don't see the fruit of your choice on here, go to the Sure-Gel site or the Ball Canning site and look up their recipes. What you need is how many cups of juice to how many cups of sugar, and then you can follow the regular directions. This is a good thing to keep so that you have it and you can look back and refresh your memory about different directions. So we have our Sure-Gel and our sugar, and it takes a lot of sugar to make jelly. In fact, I'm making blackberry, So this is only 3 3/4 cup of juice, but I'm going to need 4½ cups of sugar for this to gel properly. That's almost half a bag of sugar. So when you're making jelly, you keep lots of bags in your pantry so that you're always ready. So you're going to need your sugar jars. It doesn't make any difference what size or what type or different design of jar that you use. It's totally up to you. I like these little quilted ones because they look really pretty with the jelly in them. But I have 3 big old boys, and when they were growing up, I always canned in the big jars because they could eat this entire jar on one batch of pancakes. Didn't do me any good to try to can in the little cute ones because that just wasn't enough. So these are lids. And if you look, there is a rubberized ring around the top. What you're going to have is a hot jar full of hot liquid. We're going to put it in hot boiling water, and that lid is going to make a seal on there really nice and tight. This is the ring that goes on top. It's just a simple screw-on design, and that is your whole outfit right there. You can buy boxes of these at grocery stores and different things. Usually they come 12 in a pack, and they come with the rings and the lids with them. That way you know you have the perfect amount. However, if you find a bunch of jars at a yard sale or something, somebody gives them to you, you can buy the rings and the lids separately. So that's no big thing. Next, you're going to need big, thick cloth. Why? Because when you fill your jars with hot jelly, they don't want to be clamped around. They want to be put on a nice soft cloth. They want to be left to just gently seal. So they want to have a nice cushy place to go. And don't use a cloth that you want not to get stained, because lots of the juices that you're going to use are natural dyes. So it may not come out of your cloth ever. Next thing is a funnel, and this is one of those regular kitchen items that you probably already have. I use funnels all the time. You want to be sure that you have one that fits inside of a jar, has a good open neck on it. This is going to direct our boiling hot juice right into our jars. So that's a really important part. Now this is a very handy tool. You don't have to have it, but I love mine. It was actually a present from my boys. And what is so amazing is this is a rubberized bottom. Has a rubber coating on it, and it is perfect for picking up boiling hot jars out of your racks, and it doesn't slip. So you don't have to have one of these. It's a really nice present. That's just a nice thing to have. You can use tongs if you don't have that. And the last thing is a ladle or a big flat spoon, because we're going to be skimming some foam off the top of our jelly, and we just need something to be able to scoop. This is another common household item that you're probably already going to have. So right here we have all the elements to make our jelly. Pretty simple, right? Now I'm going to tell you a couple of tips and a little bit of safety precautions before we get started. So if you have jars, it doesn't make any difference if they're brand new out of the box or if somebody gives them to you. You want to run your finger around the top. There can be manufacturing defects in them, or there can be nicks or chips. I mean, these things last forever. I love them. You can bounce them off the floor and they don't break. But the longer you use them, the more likely they are to have an imperfection around the top. And if they do, this little rubberized ring is not going to make a proper seal, and it's not going to make your jelly set up right. So you want to make sure there's no imperfections before you get started. Another thing is, I am very haphazard about cooking. I like to just throw in a bit of this and a bit of that and have fun, and it all works out good. You have to be precise with your jelly making. So do not change amounts of juice, pectin, or sugar. Trust me on this. You want it to set up, and they have made the perfect ratio in your recipes so that you will have success, and you want it to turn out great. So just trust me and actually follow the directions. Even if you're not a direction follower, just do it this one time. So those are the tips. Now, safety precaution. We're going to be taking boiling hot juice, putting it in a hot jar, capping it with a hot lid, putting it in boiling hot water, taking it out hot and putting it over there. Did you see how many times I said hot and boiling? I just want us to be careful. Just relax and be calm and go through our steps because I am the world's clumsiest person and I always manage to burn myself. It's just a matter of fact, but I just want us to be safe about this. And now that I've scared you all and you're thinking this is not what you want to do, I just want to say I just had to get that out of the way to begin with. This is easy, no problems. We're going to have a good time and it's all going to be fun. So the first thing that we need to do to get started is we need to start our hot water bath because it needs to be at a good big boil before we even start making our jelly. So when we get our jelly in our jars, we're immediately ready to put it into our hot water bath to seal. How do I know how much water to put in here? Well, it depends on the size of jar. So if I use this size of jar, I would have to use a whole lot more water because the water has to cover the top of the jar. I'm going to use this size of jar. So I need it to cover the top of the jar by about 1 inch, like so. So I'm going to put about yay much water in there and bring it up to a boil so that it will be ready when we start our jelly. So, last step. We are going to strap on our aprons. And trust me, I need it because I am one of the messiest cooks ever. We've got our aprons on. I am going to go fill us up with water and get us to boiling so we can make our jelly. Okay, it's finally time to make our jelly, and this is actually the simplest part of the whole thing. It's so much better if you have everything arranged and organized. That way when it's time to put something in, you're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off. So I have everything pretty much set up over here. We have our big deep pot, we have our Sure-Gel, our sugar, our juice, and our wooden spoon. Wooden spoon's important because this is going to be in here and you're going to be stirring a lot for a long while, and a metal spoon is going to get really hot and you're going to grab it and wish you had it. So a wooden spoon is perfect. Go ahead and measure out your sugar and your juice to the proper amount before you get started because you don't want to be fumbling around trying to measure it out when it's time. So I have my 3 3/4 worth of blackberry juice and I have my 4 1/2 cups of sugar all ready and waiting. One more little thing that we need. And that's something that you're going to be able to read on your Sure-Gel recipe, is they encourage you to put a tiny bit, say a teaspoon, of butter into your jelly, which sounds weird, but it's supposed to cut down on the foaming, and the foam is what we're going to have to scoop off at the end, and so the less foam, the less you're going to have to scoop off. And whether it makes a huge lot of difference or not, I don't know, but hey, butter in your jelly can't make it any worse, right? And just make it better. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting our things in. I have my juice. Get your juice in first. And then we've got our whole packet of Sure-Gel. You want every little drop, so shake it down there. And we're just going to sprinkle that over the top. Got our mess all together. And you just want to stir it in real good. It dissolves really nicely, but you want to stir it so that you don't have a lump in there floating around that you don't know about, and it would make a lump in your jelly. So we've got it all stirred up nice. And now, grab me a knife, and open up my butter, and I don't ever measure it. I'm just going to give it a little pat, like so. And we're going to throw that in there. And turn our heat on full high. So we have the heat on high and we have our beginning ingredients in there. And now we're going to need to let it come up to rolling boil. And here's where your apron comes in handy. While it's doing that, you want to come by and you want to stir on it every so often. If you've ever thickened anything with cornstarch, you know that if you wait too long between stirring, sometimes you can get lumps. So this isn't the point where you need to stir all the time, but every now and then. So while that is coming up to a boil, I also have other things on the stove. You can see that we've got the hot water bath over here, and if you can hear it, it is just rocking away like a freight train. It is bubbling like crazy. It's ready for our jelly to go in. And here in this other pan, make sure it's not too hot. In this other pan, you can see that I have the rings and the lids in here, and they're already starting to come up to a bubble. So we're going to boil our lids and rings and get them nice and sterile. Then I'm going to take the rings out. I'm going to set them over to drain on our towel. And I'm going to leave the lids in here and just turn the heat off after it's simmered for about 10 minutes or so. Take that over there when we're ready to put the jelly on, and the rings will still be nice and hot. The rubber will be nice and warm, ready to make a good seal. So we have all of the steps in place to make our jelly, and all we have to do is let this come up to a good boil. Hey, we just came back up to a boil, and it is looking great. So now it's time for the next step, which is to add our sugar in. And you need to stir and add your sugar at the same time. So this is where your mommy skills come in. You're going to do it just slowly. Make sure it incorporates. You don't want any lumps, because this is the part where it actually could make crystals or something like that. So you want to stir really good. Get all of your sugar in there. Okay. Want all of it. Okay, so you're stirring away, and we're just going to let this come back up to a rolling boil. And it's going to take a lot longer than the first time, because now we have all of this sugar in there, and it adds to the volume. It's got to melt down and incorporate. So it's going to take a while for it to come back up to a rolling boil, and when it does, I've got my timer set for 1 minute. And that doesn't seem like much at all, but in that 1 minute, it's all going to come together. It's going to gel. Everything is going to be exactly right. No longer than a minute. Remember, we're following exact directions. So we've got it set for 1 minute. We're going to stir just gently every so often. Now's a good time when you can pull up a stool and get you an iced tea, flip through a magazine. It's not going to take too long, but in a few more minutes, we'll be ready to can our jelly. Okay, our jelly came back up to a boil, and we boiled it for 1 minute exactly. And it has been sitting here for just a second. We have all of our things arranged, and as you can see, I definitely needed my apron. So now we have a little bit of well, if you can see that, a little bit of a whitish skim on the top of our jelly. And that's called foam. So the thing that we want to do is we want to take our ladle, and we just want to very gently go along the top. It sort of actually rolls up like a skin, and you can pull it right off. Grab all of that, and it's not anything bad. It's not anything you couldn't eat. It just doesn't make an attractive top to your jelly. It doesn't look very nice. So there is all of our skim. Pretty, huh? So I'm going to set that off to the side. We have all of that off. The jars have been sterilized. I washed them in super hot water with lots of soap, rinsed them really hot, and they've been sitting here upside down draining. All of my rings were boiled, and I sat them out. My lids are hot in here, so you can see the steam coming off. I have my funnel ready. I have a clean washcloth. Okay, so we're ready to start. All you do is you take your first jar, put your funnel in, and this, lots of times it's really hot, but I kind of have asbestos hands. So I find it easiest to pour instead of ladle. So we'll pour until it comes a bit of a ways up into the funnel. I'm going to flip over another jar so we can rest our funnel in there. And we're going, this is the important part, we're going to use our rag to wipe the rim and the ring, the threads on the outside, because if you get any jelly on the outside, it is going to mess up your seal. Remember, that's the most important thing. Everything's clean, everything's hot, everything's sterile. Hot ring. We're going to put that on top of there, and we're going to get our ring. Yes, this is hot. And there we have a jar. It's ready to go. So I'm going to set it over here into my rack. We're going to do the next one. The recipe said that it would make approximately 5 cups, so I sterilized 6 jars because it's kind of hard to estimate how much the jelly jars are actually going to use. So here's our next jar. Take our rag, Wipe it really well. Get our lid. It's very nice and hot. And our ring. Now, here's another tip. Ooh, that is really hot. You see how I'm just kind of putting it on finger tight like that? It is not going to be any of your Herculean effort of screwing that on as tight as you can that's going to make the seal. It's the hot jelly and the hot water bath that we're going to put it into that are going to create the seal. So honestly, you just have to put it on regular tight, not be a Mighty Mouse, and they're going to be great. So I'm going to fill the rest of these jars. Whew, it's steamy in here. I'm going to fill the rest of these jars, and then I'm going to go put them into the hot water bath. They're going to go into the hot water bath for just 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'm going to bring them back and show them to you. Okay, so our jelly making adventure is just about through. We just have the last, most crucial thing left, and that's getting the jelly out of the hot water. This is actually the hardest and most scary part. So, got my hot pads, and it has handles, so I'm going to grab my rack. The important thing is the jars will have a little bit of hot water on top of them, so I kind of tip it one way, tip it the other way, hoping to get all that water off and not all down me. So it looks like we did pretty good. Set it on something definitely heat proof. Stand these back up. Can you see the steam flying around in here? It is very warm. When Mama and I used to can when I was a kid, we had no air conditioning, ever. So we're really wimpy now. Okay, maybe you can see I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jars, and this little baby jar that I had to run and go get out of this batch of jelly, which is pretty amazing. So what we have left to do is I'm going to use my handy dandy little grippers, and you can see I did get stains on my cloth, but that's what it's there for. I'm going to take these out and I'm going to sit them on our cloth because these need to sit for 24 hours. Sometimes they seal right off, and I'm hoping some of them are going to start sealing so you can hear it. It's the most great sound. It's like music to a canner's ears. Set these out here so they can rest, not get bumped and jostled around. Plus, for 24 hours, you just get to admire them every time that you walk by. Set these out here, and they look fantastic. And I can tell you already that our jelly is starting to gel. And how do I know that? Because there's a little bit of drips in the bottom of this pan from when I poured out. And look at this. You see that? It's already all gone to jelly. I'm gonna eat that. It's really, really good too. So I know that our jelly in the jars is gonna make, and it's gonna be wonderful. Don't worry if tomorrow when you pick it up, it still is a little bit loose, isn't completely set. It's got to have a little bit of time to completely finish. And so I know, maybe you're excited about doing this. Did you hear that? That was a jar sealing. Yay! That's what it sounds like. Just a little pop. And we're gonna hear all of them pop, hopefully here in this next little bit. How do you know if your jars have popped? You look at them in 24 hours and you think, oh, they're beautiful, but are they okay? Well, I'm going to show you how you can tell, because I know that there are going to be people out there that are looking at it and they're worried about it and they're thinking, oh my goodness, I don't want to feed my baby a peanut butter and jelly sandwich of death from my botulism jelly. I know how moms' minds work. So this is how you tell. This is our jar of black gray jelly that I had already done actually last year. And so you can tell when I push down on it, absolutely nothing happens. This is a completely firm seal. No bobbing up and down, no clicking like we just heard. This is a perfect sealed jar. Now this is a jar of my wild plum jelly that has been opened and has actually been, yay, another jar, has actually been eaten on. It is not sealed, so I want you to look and listen. Did you hear that? Okay, that is the sound of it going up and down. It's flexing. That's because there's no seal on it anymore. If there is a seal, it's going to be nice and smooth, no give, no movement. If it has not sealed or you've already opened it and you're not sure, So if you have one that doesn't seal, don't despair and think all of your work is gone for nothing. All you do is you take it and you put it in the refrigerator and you use it first. This is also true for tomatoes, green beans, pickles, whatever. They're not gone bad, you just stick them in the refrigerator. For the green beans, tomatoes, and pickles, you just eat those up right away. If you have a jar that doesn't seal, you've got, several weeks to even start eating on it. It's all good. So, I really hope that you have been inspired and you're enthusiastic about canning. It's a lot of fun, and when you look at it, the rewards are great. They're beautiful. Your friends and family are going to be smitten with your jewel-like jars of jelly. So if you decide to try this, let me know, because I would love to know what kind of jellies you make where you are. So